Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination thrive. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair. Come on down and get your geeked up, gift at the Sci-Fi Center. We got almost everything a geek could want at the Sci-Fi Center. You name it, we got it. Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and everything in between at the Sci-Fi Center.
Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Saturday Overnight Live edition of the Sci-Fi Center Presents. I am your host, William. I don't like the way I look with that. There we go. That's much better. I mean, slightly less ridiculous with the cat ears. But right now in this environment, this is the best mic I currently have that operates with it being this wide open and cavernous. Is a lot of you guys, most everybody I know does this show or does their show from their home. We do most of ours from my home office, and you can obviously see that the sound quality there is different from when it's here because of the way the setup is. So this microphone here, but unfortunately, like I said, these things are huge, and they make my head look fat. If I don't wear a hat, plus it's really hard to have anything over my ears when I got customers in and out of the store. So welcome to Saturday. Hope everybody's having a good mid-weekend type of situation. I'm trying to, and I'm pretty much going to go ahead and force that issue. But before we get started, I know many of you are fans of other streams. You have your preferences, and certain things get you going. Certain salacious, sleazy headlines are the ones that get the clicks. Starting conflicts with people, wow, that stacks them up. That's not this place. I am not here to engage in bullshit. I am not here to engage in stupidity, and I'm not here to pick a fight. I'm not here to fight a war. I'm here to have fun, disgusting fictional characters for the most part. I don't care what happens on other shows. Like I said a couple of nights ago, comparing me to other shows is a waste of your oxygen and my time. This is the conversation we've chosen to have. I've been on some other streams and I've seen some of the comments in those streams, and I'm like, the coming from a person who sells this stuff, if I have to tell you that there's something wrong with you, then you probably need to go get some help. And I mean that seriously. I'm not using that joking. If you've attached yourself to these characters, or you're name calling other people or hunting other people to screw with them, then you really need to seek out professional help, because there's something missing there from you. There's a void there that needs to be filled by something that actually matters. To that end, here's the warning. I don't know if I spelt everything right, but these are the rules I'm going to follow from this point forward. All right. Say hi to the chat. Buy Brad some time to like be late. Hello, Anthony. How you doing? William, is there any songs from the catalog of Iron Maiden, Skid Row, that you think would make sense in the superhero movies? Ooh, I don't know too many Skid Row songs, to be honest with you. I mean, 18 in Life is probably their biggest hit, so I would have to say that one. Iron Maiden, there's a lot. There's a lot. Sign of the Beast. I mean, there's a lot when it comes to Iron Maiden that you could you could use. I mean, if you look at their let me bring it up because I don't have them all obviously in my head, but there's a lot. I mean, Iron Maiden, in my opinion, is one of those bands that lends itself to that kind of genre. Anyway, so just about any song that you want to pick, but I mean, 2 Minutes to Midnight, I could see it. Aces High, I could see it. Angel and the Gambler, Be Quick or Be Dead, Clairvoyant. Dude, that's a loaded question because there are so many, in my opinion, from Iron Maiden. Just like there's a lot from AC/DC that you could probably use for a superhero song. But for Skid Row, that's the one I don't listen to a lot of Skid Row, but I know their biggest hit was 18 in Life. Or I Remember You was their hit after that. I don't think that one would fit for it. William James Gunn said he is writing a script for a new DCU film. What do you think it will be? Some people are speculating that it's the world's finest or Justice League International film. I think those are long shots. I think those are what some fans might want to see. He's given no clues to what they will be, and we probably won't know until he starts dropping clues. I don't know. I'm thinking it would if he's saying it's one of the ones that are unplanned. It depends. I mean, there's a wide range of things that it could be. I don't think we're going to get a Justice League International at all. And I don't think World's Finest. I don't think you're going to have a World's Finest before you have this Batman movie. So I think both of those are out of the question. But once again, I have as much info as anybody else who's guessing. So I don't know. How you doing, Phil? What's going on? Yeah, I saw that tweet, and I like I said a couple of nights ago, I didn't have anything credible to go on that told me otherwise. I mean, a publication that I'm not knocking, I'd never heard of until that night. I guess I'm not in the woods with everybody else. And once again, it was brought to me via chat, which means it came from the internet for the most part, and I can't rely on that. I mean, I would rather just wait until somebody with any importance said something. People can knock what they, say what they want to say about James Gunn, saying one thing and doing another. Like it or not, he is the person whose word means something. Him or Matt Reeves, unless Matt Reeves says I'm stepping away from this, or James Gunn says that he's stepping away from it. Those are really the only two people whose voice really matters in this situation. And one of those voices spoke today, or whenever that tweet was. Yeah, so yeah, that's why we didn't hit on it a lot because I thought it was I just didn't feel like doing any unsubstantiated um mess. Hold on for a second. Hold on, I got. Okay. Somebody's texting me about something sort of important, but not really. So yeah, that's why we didn't go into it. When we did go into it, it was more about whether we should be bringing up that kind of speculation and rumors onto the show and bringing the show down. So there you go. Does Marvel have an equivalent to the world's finest, which is Batman? Not really. World's finest is kind of unique. Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, I'm watching. Sorry, I got a lot going on in these screens. Okay, let's see. Hold on. I just got to make sure I got all my stuff up because we're up. That's the final. Wow, that's hilarious. Okay, so yeah, to answer your question, Anthony, no, I don't. The theme song was done by that dude Vince. He's kind of taking a break from doing stuff like that for now, but he's the one who did both the theme song and he also did the commercial. Ooh, I am drinking. I'm in my second gallon today. It's 97 degrees here in Las Vegas, and I'm on the top floor, and it's pretty dry. Yeah, yeah, and I just don't want to do it anymore. Listen, I think I've let you guys know um, that as many times as I can, I I rewatch our shows. I rewatch our shows to see what we can do better, and both myself, um, and Brad. I talked to Brad. Sometimes we're off camera to say, hey, what can we fix? I mean, there's just some background noise that we can fix. Sometimes it'll be like one of us is sniffling or something like that. I want to fix that, or the obviously his sound issues that we've had that we've talked about. I watch most of these shows. Sometimes there are certain shows I really love when I watch over again to see what I can capitalize. The one thing I want to eliminate from our platform is bullshit. I don't do in order for a rumor and speculation to make it on our show, it's got to, in my opinion, go over so many hurdles that there's just too much smoke for there not to be fire. It just can't be some random unnamed guy, and then I mean, people run with this stuff and they run as fast as they can. And you know what? If that's how you pay your light bill, that's how you pay your phone bill, those clicks and those super chats, that's not me judging you. But everybody has an opportunity to get on YouTube. It's free. It's really free. I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, you have to, if you want to excel and you want to get StreamYard or things like that, you want to invest in mics or have people help you out with that. That's it. But the basic, clicking on YouTube, it is 100% free. It's 100% free. And if that's what you want to peddle, that's cool. That is your place, your platform. But my resistance to it is I don't like to look stupid. Don't like to look stupid because I fell for some rumors, some bullshit, and then 2 or 3 days later, it ends up being nothing. That wastes my time. That wastes Brad time, and most of all, it wastes your time. Both the people that are here live watching with us, and the majority of you who watch later on. So I'm not here to waste your time. I'm here to have fun. And most of this rumors and speculation bullshit ends up leading into conflicts and fights. So I just avoid it. Like I said 48 hours ago, I would rather be last than wrong, and I would rather not engage in certain topics if it's going to muddy up the show and make us look like jackasses. I know there's an easier route to get clicks. I know there's an easier route to get subscriptions and all those kinds of things that YouTube has available to you. But I don't do this for a living. I have other sources of income. I'm not to the point where I'm going to be so desperate to where I change the conversation that I have. I got onto this platform to have my conversation. So, um, I'm not fighting wars over caped dogs and humans. I am not going to engage in wars over fake dogs and humans and possibly monkeys and people with rings that can do things that we know are not possible right now. If you are in a spot where you're calling someone a name because you disagree with them about some shit that's on these covers, that's a you problem. If you feel the need to engage someone that has typed something somewhere or push their whatever narrative along by you getting involved, that's a you problem. And there's a whole bunch of other channels that engage in that. And if that's what you're into, I don't want you. Unsubscribe now. Leave now. I would rather have 2 or 3 people in this box or me watching myself than engage in that. And I've seen when I rewatch some of our shows, I look at it and I'm like, sometimes I get drawn into it and I'm not happy. And those are adjustments I can make. Those are adjustments I can make. If we're going to talk about James Gunn, we're going to talk about Peacemaker. I don't give a fuck about why you don't like him or if you think he's this or that or all this other stupid stuff. We're going to talk about the product he produces. And if you can't do that, like I said, YouTube is free. There's a whole bunch of other people. This is not a grievance channel. So that's why I put this on here. I'm here to talk about the actual product. That's it. Even when we've driven off the path and talked about Vince McMahon's extracurricular things, that was a little bit too sleazy for me. But we had to bring it up simply because what he did actually affects the wrestling world that we live in now as wrestling fans. But we limited that. Like I said, I've watched the discourse. I mean, we can't even talk about a potential trailer without going to the mattresses. So that's yeah. And if I see that stuff going on in the chat, like I said, I love the fact that you came here, but I'll trim this shit down to nothing before I become some of the stuff that I've seen lately. So, and with that, I would say I could tell I could tell time by this particular person, but then I would be late every fucking time. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Brad?
Had my third pre-test today for black belt this morning, so that took a lot out of me. So I pretty much got home and fell over and stayed that way until about half an hour ago.
Yeah, I'm running on empty, but mainly because I'm adjusting to the heat, which is better than the rain. You know what? It could be 200 degrees here. Sunlight leaking through my roof is not going to hurt me. It's not going to damage my fucking merchandise. Rain and water will. So I will take it. I will take it until such time as autumn rolls around, and you will see a much happier me. All right, tonight's topics, up to and including, are in any given order, are going to be: we have a new disgusting villain or a version of a villain that has appeared for the in full in Absolute Superman #7. That is this version of Brainiac, and he's nasty, and some of the shit he does is absolutely disgusting. He is not your grandfather's Brainiac. We're also going to talk about the legacy of heavy metal, something near and dear, something I kind of grew up with. For the first time in a long time, it's back on the shelf, and I got all the variants and things like that are going in. But heavy metal goes back decades. I'm going to discuss, some of the artists that you are very familiar with, one way or another, and why it went away, and why it's going to be, even now with a brand new editions of them out, why it's going to be just as hard to keep it on the shelf as it was back in the day when it kind of thinned out. So I'm going to continue to say, we're going to watch the Peacemaker trailer.
Yeah,
we're going to watch the Peacemaker trailer, and like I said, the reason I gave you that entire preamble, that's why. And anything that has to do with Superman or anything that has to do with these characters, and if you are about the type of comment in our comment section that I will probably end up deleting because I don't want to subject my followers to that nonsense, and you're about to use the word cult in reference to me, fuck yourself. And go ahead and finish your comment so that I can just get rid of you. So, or any of these other goofball terms that are suitable in your environments that you swim in, and that person doesn't get rid of you, this is a different poll. So we're going to talk about the Peacemaker trailer. Obviously, there's something at the there's something at the end of it that I thought was kind of cool, but that doesn't have to, mean as much as everybody wants to grapple on. It could mean nothing. It could mean a little. It could mean something. I think there's a long way before you find out. Now, I was on Film Junkie the other night, and I thought I was having fun.
Yeah, I would have liked to have been on that stream with you and Phil and Junkie, but again, like I had an early morning today. So
by the way, guys, what I said on Peacemaker and on Peacemaker, I'm having fun with it. I have no inside information. Yeah, it's out there. It is out there, and it's all long shot. I said that when I put it out. And then I saw the response to it is like I was going to get subpoenaed and called to testify. Remember fun? Remember that? We're talking about a guy with a toilet on his head, a trained bald eagle, walking around in tighty whities having a gun aimed at him by his other self. If we can't have fun with that and have outrageous conspiracy theories or whatever you want to call them, then we can't do anything. It's not that seriously. You don't have to come at me calling me names because I had some fun for 5 minutes on a show. I even said, hey, Film Junkie, if I'm right, you can come down to Vegas because that's a joke because he always, rebuffs me when I invite him to Vegas for our screenings. So if you were able to come down,
because I wasn't able to see the whole vodka stream last night, so you got apparently like a backlash to whatever you.
No, some people were in some of the comments, and some people messaged me like, "What do you think?" Like, dude, first of all, why are you messaging? Stop. Listen, guys, I'm barely on Twitter half the time. I'm on Twitter to leave him a message and to spread the word about the show and talk about some stuff. I have an app that puts us on everything, right? But I'm not directly on Twitter. I'm using the app. I'm using Buffer. I'm using all these things. Don't message me with nonsense. I mean, listen, I've already let you know. I don't give a fuck about your opinion. I don't want it to change. I'm just not going to change mine, and I don't want mine to change yours. You have to call me a name over a fun 2 or 3 minutes we had on a show? Have fun. If you feel yourself, like I said, about to call somebody a name, about if you're going to use the word cultist, you probably have something in your brain that needs to be turned back on. If you're going to use the word pedo, you need help. Unless you're describing somebody who's proven that way. If you're using these terms and the subject is comic book characters, something's up. And I really, really want you to sit down with somebody because this is a microcosm. This is just a symptom of something that's really, really, and we care a lot about mental health. We care a lot about people's mental well-being. I don't think you are mentally well if you are engaging and if you are seeking to engage on this level about these characters. Yeah, let's get loud every now and then. Let's get crazy. I'm not gonna stop it. All right, so bad faith arguments. How you feel?
Demonetized then.
Yeah, we'll hit that real quick. What are we talking about? I will go into details some other time.
Let's go, RJ.
I think that people who watch our show and follow our show can pretty much understand. But to right now, just to these every time something comes up in regards to anything that we talk about or anything that comes up, it turns into a war and it makes it to the point. Going back to when I had the topic, are some Superman fans worse than any other fandom? Those type of things. I think we've forgotten that these things are entertainment and they're supposed to be fun.
And as I say, these are fictional characters.
Yeah, I think certain people have tied things, the importance of these characters to aspects of their life that make it not fun. I mean, go into the movie, watch it. If you like it, go back, buy the t-shirt, buy the hat. If you don't like it, come back, do a review. But like I said, it's just the interaction is crazy. So RJ, wasted years, and like I said, don't want to waste any more. I thought listen, if you notice, usually if there's a wrestling event of any kind, whether it be WWE or AEW or anything like that, I usually have it in my thumbnail. I watched Backlash. I did not hate Backlash, and we're not going to even go too much into it. I'm going to give it maybe a minute. It was a really good SmackDown. That main event was horrible. And it was predictable. The ref bumps and I don't know whether it was just an inside joke. The 90 refs that had to come in for that match, two best matches of the night had no business being that good. Listen, I'm not a big Pat McAfee, guy. I mean, I'm like, dude, you're a commentator, you're too loud. I mean, they did an excellent job building up that match. That really was a Raw match. The way they built it up, the way they did it was kind of cool, and it was a good payoff. But I just didn't want to see those two wrestling. I think Gunther could be doing something much bigger, but that's fine. The Lara Akira match was probably one of the second best match of the night. The Jacob Fatu, listen, I love Jacob Fatu. I think he's a tremendous talent. He's a tremendous athlete. Hurry up and turn him face if you're just going to do stupid shit like it. And that's how you're going to bring Jeff Cobb in? That's what we're doing with Jeff Cobb. So, yeah, I thought it was a really good Raw. And like I said, it was up on the screen. I didn't have to work really hard to strain my neck. But you know what, RJ, and any other wrestling fan out there, Scott D'Amore's Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling was really good. I had that on another screen. I had that on my main screen. I had Backlash on this screen. And he got something there. Josh Alexander won the 11-man gauntlet, and it was a really good. I hate matches like that when there's like 1,000 people in it, but everybody in that match was doing their finishing moves and stuff. I thought it was good. The Bullet Club thing, I don't like no contest, especially after they beat them clean. They had Gallows and Anderson going up against Dave Finlay and Julia Maroney? Yeah, Julia Maroney, and it was a really violent match, and they had a double count out. I'm like, dude, don't be doing double countouts on a pay-per-view. That's man. And if I had paid to been there, I'd have been like, okay, I like this card, but double countouts and I'm paid. I'm at ringside. No, we're gonna have to do that. But so yeah, I was watching that at the same time I was floating over. What's going on?
Because I'm reading the comments. Because again, like I had an early morning today, so I wasn't able to. I was on the box stream and I wasn't able to really tune in for too much of it last night. But is this whatever he was like pissed off at you about that you were talking about? That you had, so kind of fill me in on that. You had
okay. So basically, and this is fun. It's a long shit to Hail Mary, but it was fun. So obviously, we were talking. We'll go into the Peacemaker thing right after this. I've had a suspicion, and I've said it on this show over that.
You said you think he's going to pay off the Flash scene from Crisis,
even if he doesn't, just for the purposes of because that his Peacemaker falls into that universe, sort of. And until otherwise explained, and now we see another John Cena in this. So what I'm thinking is that why these universes are there is because the same reason that we saw in Flash. Barry has gone back and messed up things to the point where there's multiple versions, and now we got to figure out which one that James Gunn is going. I think he's going to reference this several times. I don't think that's the last time we're going to see that universe. And so branching off of that, it's almost academic that if I'm thinking that that's something that could happen, that the guy who caused it might just show up and be like, "Oh shit, what have I done?"
People got mad at you for that?
Yeah, I had some people messaging me about that, and then
weird.
and most of the people that were online last night were like, no chance, all that, and that's fine. And there's probably no chance. I was just having fun with it, wouldn't that? Because James Gunn is not some fanboy who's obsessed with Ezra's,
Well, he's a fanboy,
whatever history,
but he's not obsessed with the legal stuff.
Yeah, like one of the punches in Junkie's comment, the whole groomer thing, which is like that person
that got debunked anyway.
Yeah, that got debunked, and the person keeps changing. By the way, if you're you're changing your name, but you're saying the same stupid shit. I know who you are, dude. All right, and if you're going through that much work just to put a non-point, once again, sit down and think about all this. But yeah, I mean, I don't. People are like, well, Edward Miller will never do this. And what is my coin phrase? I say, people who say never, what are they? They're generally fools. So James Gunn, a guy who's been through that situation before, he's not going to look at it like that. If he can use something to tell a story, he's going to use it. He's not like online with us. So when I said that, I'm like, okay. So mainly you would see Ezra Miller come through, look around and be like, oh no, and then go back into the thing. And that would be the thing. Or he messes with something and you start to see the, not even the Chronable, you see him speed up into Peacemaker's universe and you see him alter something and then you see where the divergence happens. Like kind of like he did when George Clooney began. That, something fun like that.
Like I went through that door. It's like, I'm trying to find the universe that doesn't have Clooney in it. That's my home.
Yeah, and he does something, or he picks up something, or he does something with Peacemaker that causes another branch, and that's the branch that we go into season 2
Well,
with. While the
yeah.
branch that is season 1 basically is a parallel. That's all.
Yeah, because you've talked about that, before on the show, where you said like you think he's going to reference the Flash or use that as kind of like a fulcrum for what he's doing, in relation to everything that came before. But so what you're saying, it's like this idea is that it's kind of you think if this happens, it's happening sooner than we were suspecting. If he
or at some point, it's just a theory. It's a theory. It's a theory
yeah, it's
that
not something they get pissed off over.
yeah,
Either
that
it happens or it doesn't.
yeah, that if he's using the Flash, which like I said, his pre-season 2 characters, including the Suicide Squad, are all in that universe.
Yeah.
So if he's saying the easiest way to explain it would be like, okay, the guy who was fucking up a bunch of realities in a movie that you really liked, did it again, and now that universe that was pre-DCU goes on to it's somewhere else. It's somewhere, and people are like, well, you just want the Snyder attack. I'm like, first of all, I didn't even bring up that. Two, it doesn't matter. Someone else can use these divergent errors that the Flash is going back. Remember that one Flash created a bunch of them when he kept trying to redo things. That's how he became what he was. So you could say that there's a bunch of them out there. So guess what? When Nolan or somebody wants to come back, like I said before, and wants to do a story that's not attached and they don't want to corrupt what James Gunn's doing, they can do it, and all they got to do is say there's this multiverse. This is how it happened. I thought it'd be a fun thing to do, but yeah, that's all it really was. But once again, like I said, you'll see some of the responses somewhere, and I'll probably get some responses on my comment. And once again, while you're typing, read it out loud to yourself. Remind yourself of the topic.
Fictional characters.
And maybe you should just delete it and not waste either one of our times. Now, if we were talking about nuclear fission, if we were talking about world or global, the Pakistan and India fighting, things like that, or, real life shit, yeah, let's get the blood pressure up, because maybe we got something to worry about. We're talking about things that are going to end up with a dog that has a cape. All right, a dude with an ugly outfit and a bowl cut, a whole bunch of other things. That's another thing. That the response to the trailer, I just went ahead and muted all the responses to the trailer until we had a chance to watch it. But okay, I'm surprised the level of body horror and gross art they were able to get away with absolute Brainiac. Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah,
probably the scariest version of the scariest version of the character we've seen. By hands down, it's the scariest version.
Oh, now I gotta read it because I haven't gotten.
You haven't read number 7 yet? Oh yeah, number 7 is just like, and he's working for Ra's al Ghul, which is weird because I always considered Braniac on a much higher intergalactic tier.
I love Absolute DC.
Yeah, this is my feed is buzzing in and out. Oh shit, I am on the good internet.
That sounds good to me.
Well, yeah, but we're in StreamYard, so there are things that we can hear. Hold on, let me make sure that we're good because I don't.
Okay. No, you're still mute, man.
Yeah, I was talking to myself. That's that's as good as we're gonna look and sound today. I'm on the best internet I can be on right now. So hopefully it's just a StreamYard thing and it goes away. Okay, and maybe it's just you, Refs. I mean, every now and then it's a user. It's a user. William and YouTube. Nope, not at all. I am this channel's police. I don't care what goes on anywhere else. I don't care what you put in your thumbnail and your headline somewhere else. My primary responsibility is for the show to represent what I want it to represent and the conversations that I want to have. And it's really easy to get drawn into do stupid stuff. Look on Twitter today. So yeah, that's I'm gonna police this channel and that logo that you see up there, Sci-Fi Center for Events, I am the chief law enforcement officer when it comes to that, and nothing else. You want to do anything somewhere else? Like I said, YouTube is free. How you doing, Azteca?
Azteca.
Do I think who is a bad director? Do you think he is a bad director? Who are we talking about, Antonio? It's just like the last 2 years, that man's name would be talked about as much as it's been. Are we talking about James Gunn? We're talking about James Gunn. 90% of what the talk about James Gunn is because he is the guy in the position now. Most people who hate James Gunn don't even know why they hate him. They hate him because of a regime that is gone. They never got to blow their wad, and they never got to swing at the people that caused their angst. They left. They've gone on to those things. So guess what? Now we have where they once stood. There's this guy under totally different circumstances, and let's swing at him because he's there. That's how I see it. But you know what? Hey, yeah, I'll hook you up.
Yeah, cool. Dude.
Hold on for a second. But that's what it is. And like I said, I'm over the point where it is like, I'm not here to do grievances. I don't care how mad you are about what happened in the past. That's someone else's show, and I implore you to go there.
Well, apparently you talk about the future. You're gonna make somebody mad too.
Yeah, but that's what the future is to be contested. The future is up for debate. We have yet to live the future. I don't want to relive. Check your Instagram inbox. So I don't want to relitigate the past, especially if I'm the only one at the table relitigating it. I'm screaming at a WB that is no longer there. How you doing, Bill? My Twitter homie.
Yeah, well, I'm not
on Twitter anymore.
I'm just fucking with you. I'm just fucking with you.
See what the shirt says? Shoot the says. So fuck around and find out.
That'll be on the same. Well,
I have been on time. I just had a very taxing morning.
Yeah, usually, like I said, if it's Saturday and he told me all this, I'm good. I can like I said, I've done it by myself. I'd rather not do other talking, but I can. But hey, William, thoughts on hack / series? My personal favorite series. Love to play with slasher trope. Oh, what's my favorite one? Oh shit, dude, that's we've done entire 2-hour shows on that. We've done top 10s, top 20s. I mean, I can go all the way back. I mean, you want to go Italian, Gallo? I mean, you want to go Argento? You want to go Fulci? I mean, this is that's something that's a genre that I love. And I consider an art, and I call it the obscene art form because you're basically watching people be killed, knowing full well that these people are alive. But when I watch Friday the 13th, it's not whether you're going to die; it's how you die. It's not either the movie's good or not. There are things that I know that are going to happen in slashers that has been a successful formula for 50 years. The hot chicks are going to get naked. Half of them are going to die. Somebody's going to be really, really dumber than you can really believe.
And it happens around Thanksgiving. Somebody's going to get cooked.
Yeah, it's going to be that one final person that figures it all out just in time to not be one of the 10 people that get killed. But you know what? It's a working formula. So, yeah, if we want to talk slasher series, for me, I mean, Friday the 13th up to 6 was classic. Once we started going to Manhattan and going to space, and that's when I started to lose it. So
the reboot isn't half bad.
The
2009 one, it's not
that 2009 one. But it's not half good either. It's just in my opinion, though, because I know a lot of people like it.
They really blend elements of the first 3 films together in one blended reboot, and whether or not you like it, that's entirely up to interpretation. You know what I mean? Like, I think the whole frat boy fucking group of friends going to the house, the vacation house on Crystal Lake is kind of like, okay, fine, whatever. But there were some inventive kills. Like, I'll never forget the dude getting an arrow through the face and then running the boat over into the chick's head. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I largely agree. I think Friday the 13th part 1 through 6 are the best. 6 being the best one, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then there's other slashers, and there's genres that I think that are slasher movies that I think that just don't do the job. I hate the Scream movies. I am not a fan of how they do it. As far as them being slasher movies, now the whole thing with the rules of the car, I thought that was kind of clever, but then it got predictable, and then it got to the point where now you're not even see. There's a style that for me that has to be there. That's why the Friday the 13th remix is not for me, because you're losing the style there. There's a style and a tone there that if you're just cutting people up. And then that to me that's a little bit
horrified by that Scream assessment.
I'm not a big fan of it because I grew up with better stuff. I just grew up with better stuff to where The first Scream I'm down with. Not a favorite of mine. I'll watch it. But as you got into the franchise, it was like, okay, we're literally not doing anything new. We're literally just changing out the person who puts on Ghostface and maybe coming up with a slightly more creative way to kill some people. But it's usually stabbing. It's usually you popping out of somewhere. With Jason looks around, picks up something new every time. Maybe it's a harpoon gun. Maybe it's an axe. Maybe it's his bare hands. But there's some style to it. And I think a lot of modern day slashers, especially ones that are made by major studios, have lost the style of it. It's the independent ones do it a lot better, simply because they seem to be closer to the Dario, to the Fulci, the Friday the 13th, the Carpenter, the early Carpenter stuff, and they've watched. You can tell when an indie person. This is just my opinion, by the way. You can tell the influences of certain directors that are making the smaller, lower budget slashers. You can tell because of the effects, the practical, all that kind of stuff. Some of the newer ones, like I said, I think Scream is just something that they keep dry. And I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's another one. I can absolutely do without, and but it's popular for reasons that are not the ones I got in the slasher movies. So I guess that's where I'm at.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned on here before, like with William, like one of the, as far as like remakes of that go, one of the ones I thought actually did it better than a lot of the others was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre ones, and the big reason for those, the thing that just scared the shit out of me in those are R. Lee Ermey as Sheriff Hoyt. Like he's scarier in that than Leatherface is the good cop compared to him. And
R. Lee Ermey's the fucking bad cop, definitely.
Yeah.
See that now. You brought that one up before, and I would like I said, I would rather eat that movie than ever watch it again, simply because there was something about that original Chainsaw Massacre that is totally not there.
Fucking haunting. That first movie is fucking haunting.
Ed Gein would be proud. Ed Gein was sitting in his cell being like, damn, you did aspects of me right. And it was more closer to that haunting serial killer trope that was starting to come out in the 70s with the cult and the Manson and all that. It was tied in that order. That new one is just some, I don't even know what that. I don't even have a word to describe that new. It's not good in my opinion, but that's just me. But I was so struck by Tobe Hooper in the original, and it's really hard to remake his movies. Like you'll never see a Life Force. You're never going to see a Life Force again because they would fuck it up. If they ever did Life Force again, they would take all the aspects about it like they did in that Chainsaw Massacre, and they would sensationalize them, and then it wouldn't be special anymore. That's just once again before you guys come at me. Opinion. All right, RJ, I don't think we're going to see Ezra pop up in anything DC related soon, but there's nothing wrong, William. Once again, this is the way I think about it: is James Gunn doesn't think like us in chat rooms do. James Gunn has been, James Gunn is going to if he can use something, I think he uses it. I don't think he buys into the people that are just sitting around staring at a screen, looking at all of Ezra Miller's transgressions. Otherwise, Anthony Starr never gets another paycheck. All right, there's a whole bunch of people that are on their way back that have done far worse than than he did. It's just because the internet and our community can't take their eyes off of one particular person. Doesn't mean like I said, this is a long shot. This is a fun long shot, but for the reasons that people have told me that something can't happen. That's none of them or any of that. James Gunn himself wouldn't have a job if something like that was the case. So
it's funny you mention that because remember before Deadpool and Wolverine, the rumors swirling of Wesley Snipes showing up in that movie, and everyone scoffed at that idea, and then it fucking happened. I mean, anything's possible.
He's done prison time. I'm pretty sure Wesley's done time. He's done years for tax evasion. He's a convicted villain. So people don't, because Joe Average, which is not us, don't care. I told you, Deshaun Watson, $238 million guaranteed with 21 rape allegations, two of them that had yet to be settled when he signed the contract. But you know what? The dog pound was like, can he get us into the end zone? So what a fan on the internet and community cares about is not necessarily what Joe Average is going to care about. They care about, can this person entertain me? My relationship with that person is can they do what they're supposed to do on that screen, on that court, or in that end zone? They aren't the internet. So just because people think, "Oh, I have a problem with this guy," you can have your problem. That is your free will. But in a retail world, in a capitalist world, in a supply and demand world, you gotta don't be shocked if nobody gives a shit about how you feel about any particular person. They're gonna go with the money. Dude, wrestling. The thing I follow a lot. There are some absolute scumbags that get constantly pushed down your throat. You know why? Because they draw and they make money. Hulk Hogan has no business ever being on my screen again. All right, Vince McMahon, there should not be Vince McMahon might start a federation. No, absolutely not. But you know why? Because there's a chance there's for money to be made. So a guy like me hanging out on YouTube, not wanting to ever see these people or hear about them again, I don't matter if there's somebody else out there waiting to pay some shackles for it. It's not right, but that's in Edward Miller's case. Like I said, when you on the scale of who gives a fuck, he's not even one of the little lines you can draw in at the bottom. So no, I mean, doubtful. Yes, doubtful. Are the odds slim? Yeah, but I'm just throwing some shit out there. Why? Because like I said, we're talking about green people from other planets eating other people, absorbing people. We're talking about a guy with a fucking adamantium skeleton. If we're going to be talking about these things, the word should never be in there. You should never say never, given what we're talking about. So that's all I'm saying. Have some fun with it while you're at it.
If James Gunn were to if he were to try to pick something, if he were to try to pick a hand grenade to throw in the first couple entries of his DC franchise, that would be just the curveball that nobody would see coming. Ezra Miller would be that curveball. It's if he wanted to pick something that everybody would just, and the proof's in the pudding from the reaction that William got from just throwing out there as hypothetical on the Vodka stream. If he were to pick something to throw out there, it's oh, they're not going to expect this, and then once they see it, all bets are off. That would be it. It would be Ezra Miller just
It'd be funny.
Yeah.
The two members of the Justice League he actually got to film for that end cameo at the end of season 1 were Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa. So I'm not saying it's a complete non-possibility, but I personally don't think it's going to happen. If it happened, I'd be shocked. I'll say that.
Yeah, and like I said, I was willing to bet a comic book, and Ben wanted to bet me $500. Okay, it's not that serious. I am not that much of a believer in something I just pulled out. Yeah,
$500, buddy.
I'm I'm sorry, something I just sort of pulled out of my ass in midstream. No, but a comic book, yeah, because like I said, I know Film Junkie's never going to come out there and claim it, so that's a non-bet. But yeah, it's I say Grant Morrison and Alan Moore were right about some things when it comes to these weird ass fans can't suspend belief. Yeah, and like I said, it's about you don't listen. If somebody types something and hits send or tweet or whatever, but I'll let you in on a secret. And I need to. But this is something I heard from Yoda. This is my lifting the X-wing out of the swamp. If somebody says something or types something somewhere, you don't have to respond. I invented this thing because, and by the way, stop stealing my inventions. That's another bone of contention. The remote control is no longer mine now because I let too many people in on that secret. But I know this is an older mouse. It's probably older. You guys got much cooler mouses on your on your computer. I know it's unbelievable, and you're not believing me right now. And I know this is something I probably should have copyrighted before I got on the air. But if you see something that someone has tweeted or on any other social media that disturbs you, and I've added an arrow, and sometimes it's a hand. It'll show up, and you put it on the side of the screen, and you can make it go away. I did this for you. I sacrificed for you. I gave up millions, and that I could have cashed in on, and I did that for you. And guess what? That little button at the bottom there, where it has the arrows going out, the retweet thing. I don't even have to invent something for you there. That's just common sense. Believe it or not, I know there might be voices in your head, something hypnotic, subliminal. You think that I can't have. You don't have to retweet. You don't have to tag. The other person's this awful person that said these awful things, but you chose to get into the hot tub with them. What does that make you? It's just a question. Just a question.
Yeah, you don't have to engage. It's not hard.
Yeah, you don't have to engage. You don't have to engage. That's what, it's really hard about this. And like I said, I know I guess it's irresistible. It's really easy. It's really you just scroll up and just go down, or you can even click the X. I created an X. All these things that I've given you guys, I know I'm robbing myself. There's an X on your screen on the upper right that if you click it, all this stuff goes away. All this stuff goes away. But yeah, listen, if it ain't going to be fun, fuck it. Let's just not do it.
Right.
I have contemplated when we were in certain atmospheres that if it's not going to be fun, if we can't laugh and joke and come up with crazy, ridiculous, thoughts, without somebody acting like they got burned by an iron, then I need to get out of it. That's what I'll do. I'll get out of this before it's not fun anymore. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's going to come in your comment section acting like you kicked their puppy, just block, mute, whatever. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the engagement. It's not
I had to mute Superman. I muted Superman.
I know.
I muted Superman because it was like the discourse over anything that's coming out with Superman is just so awful. It's like I'm doing more work to find a conversation that I can dig into. It's like I'm having to dig through 6 feet of dirt just to get a quarter or something. I'm like, no, it's like this is too much work.
Do you remember when that first image dropped last May of him in the suit, David Cornsweet in the suit?
Yeah,
I muted Superman for like 6 months because of that image, because my feed was nothing but like, oh man, this is going to be so great. Fuck Man of Steel, like all that shit. You just all manner of just like, put one up to tear one down. And I'm just like, why can't you guys just be fucking excited over a new Superman without
what I haven't said? That's another clue phone. That's the clue phone ringing, you guys. When you can't be happy about a version of your character without taking a shot, and because all you're doing is you want response. You're the clown in the class. Is what? Hey, guy, buddy, look at me. I can make fart noises. Oh, you're learning about literature. You're learning about history. Hey, let me say something stupid, or let me say, everybody look at me. Please look at me. Oh, can I be involved in your conversation? So then that's another thing. It's affiliation stupidity. It's like a bunch of pack of wolves are saying, this is suck, this is good. You want to be in on that conversation, so you'll say something stupid. Or you'll use one of the words those keywords that I hate, that they don't know what they mean, but they heard their pack saying it. So if you find yourself doing that, then it's just probably time to get off the internet or start a platform and say what you actually want to say instead of what's being echoed, That's what I'm saying. William, do you think, there you go. Do you think Ezra Miller, listen, I'm just having fun with it. I would not, you have a crazy man running DCU right now. And I mean that in a good way. Nothing is off the table with this particular crazy man. If we were talking about a stuffed suit or just a film studio head, no, we're talking about a guy that wanders around comic books in Southern California and Georgia. We're talking about a guy who legit, I now know because of some of the things he said, reads these things and regards these storylines. Some that I don't like, JLI, or whatever. But he reads these things. So we're talking about a guy whose mind doesn't work like anyone else we've ever had. So the odds, are the odds against it? Of course they are. I have no basis for what I said. We're just having some fun. But we're also talking about a guy who could just look at somebody's tweet or watch the show and be like, that's crazy enough for me to do it. Right? He gave me a talking raccoon and another talking rat in two different companies. That guy is the one that you're saying would never do something.
And by the way, he's also a troll, as we've seen with taking.
Exactly.
I'm going to throw a picture of Zack Snyder out there just for the fuck of it, so.
Yeah. If we're talking about James Gunn, and you say something can never happen, listen to yourself and look at him.
And by the way, I mean that in a good way, like a troll in a good way. It's like,
I mean, he just debunked someone saying like, "Oh, why did you put your initials in the costumes that Guy Gardner and Hawker are wearing?" And he was like, "Well, I didn't do that. I don't really need to do that because my name's already in the credits. So we have a costume department putting in hours and hours of work and going over different thousands of concepts
for the Justice Gang. I'm like, dude, come on, you
It's
guys.
like,
What
dude.
are you guys reading? Stop telling me that I don't know anything about comics when
You know what they're
sometimes
reading?
it's so clear.
They're reading their own confirmation bias and other bullshit tweets on Twitter, and that's why I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah, if you don't like the robots and the stuff that's in the trailer, okay, that's okay not to like it. But that's in the comic. I showed you guys the robots that are in the comics. I have 3 or 4 different things up here that I seen he's pulled stuff from. Some of them, like I said, I could do without. I could do without Guy Gardner for the entirety of the time I'm on this spinning planet. But he's decided that that's who he's going to use, and that's fine. He's going to give me other Green Lanterns, so he's going to make up for it. But yeah,
I thought that was a pretty cool logo too, the Justice Gang logo, because the fact that they are trying to this maybe is a little bit like Vote in the Boys, or it's like they are trying to do something that's a little bit more.
It's very corporate.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
the boys got inspiration from Kingdom Come, from Magog and all that.
That's
so before there was even a boys to speak of, the boys actually kind of copied, because that's what he was, and that's what Superman and all the traditional heroes watch with. That's why I hope that he's not doing. I don't want him to do a Kingdom Come with contemporary, because part of that, the appeal for me in that story is the time in between and the way the world changed as they grew older. I don't want a contemporary Superman caught up in that.
William, real quick, I know Phil needs to go ahead and take off.
Hey, okay.
I'll just say, like, not to get too deep into it, like, I wasn't too hot on the Peacemaker trailer, right? Like, I've got my thoughts and opinions, not trying to self-plug, but like, I talked about it on my show on Friday. William and I talked about it last night, like but if you're a fan of it, if you're looking forward to it, fucking more power to you. Just don't be an asshole about it. And that goes double for me, because I try not to be an asshole to people who are looking forward to it. Because, like, I got one good look at Sean Gunn as Max Lord, and I was like, well, he looks like a used car salesman. I have my thoughts on that shit, but it's all fun at the end of the day. Yeah. These things are supposed to be fun. If you can't have fun with it, then what the fuck are you doing here? You know what I mean? But yeah. I do got to take off. It was fun chatting with you guys for a little bit. We'll have to do more often, definitely.
All right, man. Get a haircut. Yeah. That's crazy. All right, I'll talk to you. All right, the main event was not horrible. Yeah, it was bad. It was lumbering. It was bad. I thought it was bad. And then the whole running, the ref bumps, and it was so sad, dude. He gets hit like by like a fly, and the dude's out. He's in a coma now. Another ref, he gets bumped in a coma. All those officiating, dude. What's his face? Magnus fucking comes in. He's the GM. He can actually do a 3 count. He is the highest official in WWE. He can come in and do a 3 count. But they all came in, and then they gathered around the ref and all these people, and while the match is still going on, Randy RKO's everybody. That made no sense whatsoever. And then the match still goes on afterwards. I'm like, come on, man. It was, like I said, I knew John Cena wasn't going to lose that title tonight, but it was just still, I thought it was so cartoonish. If you liked it, RJ, have fun with it. I thought it was silly. Yeah, they did, but they overdid it. They overdid it. They overdid not just the heel, but the ref bump and all the other silliness that they did, and then all the finishing moves and your finisher. That by the time that match was over, neither of their finishers meant anything to me, because they all just kicked out of them. I'm like, okay, well, that's anticlimactic.
How's it going, Bell Rev?
Hi, Bill. How you doing? This is early for you. Lyra and Becky was good. Listen, lately, last year or so, the women's matches have been what have saved the WWE shows for me, whether they be the big ones or the small ones. So, yeah, I agree with you there.
How's it going, Aaron?
How you doing, Aaron? Scott D'Amore ran TNA. Scott D'Amore was the guy who got fired from TNA. He ran TNA for about a good, maybe he was with TNA for about 20 years. He just left. And if you look at Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, a lot of people that are from that are from these other promotions were there tonight. He's a pretty big name. If you're a professional wrestling fan, you might want to get used to that name, because I think you might see him in AEW as a booker. He's that big of a guy. Scott D'Amore, yep.
Oh yes, Aaron, I did see this. Yeah.
All right, what are we doing here? What are we
Yeah.
doing here? Why?
Dude,
I'm
it's
trying.
Tri-
No,
Triceratops and
absolutely
Vikings and
not.
Thor.
Absolutely
Welcome
not.
to the Sci-Fi Center. The place
It
All right.
involves time travel and fantastical elements, so it counts.
Don't
No,
care.
but really, it's like, this has been like tied up in legal limbo for like years, and we had a sizzle reel that dropped. So I do hope that kind of ends up being like the the Deadpool test footage leak, where it's like that presages it actually becoming a thing.
Yeah, like I said, before anybody gets mad at anything I ever say, look at me. Come on. Are you come on. Sitting here with a bright red shirt with a lightning bolt on it in the midst of geekdom, literally surrounded 360 by geekdom. That should tell you that nothing that we say on this show needs to be, going to war over.
Yeah. By the way,
All
Perp,
right.
I'm gonna get back to you in a little bit about when to pop on your show for that. But I'm thinking probably because I know you stream at kind of different times than we do, so I'm thinking probably this coming weekend would that work for you? Like this, next Saturday or Sunday. I think I might work best for me as far as like making the this epic kung fu get together happen. So let me think on that a little bit. But I'll get back to you, man. But let me know if that works for you.
Yeah, body horrors. I don't know if body horror ever left. It's just certain people just don't do it, right? David Cronenberg to me is like the godfather of that shit. But yeah, the substance was definitely, like I said, I thought the substance was better than the movie that ended up winning the Academy Award
Yes,
for it.
thank you, Aaron. Yes, it absolutely is. There's time travel, and he's fighting dinosaurs and Thor.
Okay,
And
it just you know what else is science fiction technically? Jurassic Park, and we don't talk about that here. So
I bring it up, and Aaron does too, because we love dinosaurs.
yeah, whatever. Hello, Chuck. How are you doing? I listen when it comes to healing. I think that's a little bit. I mean, I got disappointed that I didn't that they left me hanging with some content. I don't know if heal's a strong word. See, that's what I mean. If you're using words like that, if people are using words like that to regard these things, I think it's time to take a step back from a little bit. When it says move past the DCU, listen, the person who likes the DCEU can stay with it for as long as they want to. As long as you're not harming somebody else, then you can continue. You want to do your hashtags, go ahead. I don't think there's any healing that needs to be done. I think there's business. Me personally, I think there's business left to be done, but that's a topic for another day. It's not something I'm going to twist my intestines over.
Yeah, and again, I need to go back and like watch the because again, I was only able to like tune in for a little bit because again, I had early morning. I need to go back and like I caught a snippet of it, so I'm gonna go back and like watch that vodka stream because again, I didn't realize that like how it sounds like what you're
It
saying.
wasn't. Listen, some of it was like I said. Most of it was positive, but it's what I got in messages and
Well,
when
it wasn't for Film Junkie and Phil
like
who
no.
watched it.
It was some of the stuff that went up was like during the thing, and then like I said, a lot of it was messages and stuff, and then people, some people messages out. It was pretty cool. Some people messages.
By the way, so you got messages saying like, "Oh, that's a cool theory."
Yeah, and it wasn't like I said, it wasn't just about that. It's like every time I bring up a certain topic, I get called certain names, and I'm like, if you're calling me a name about these fictional characters like this, I'm not the problem. You are. And everything I say doesn't have to be attached to the Snyderverse. I know that's a novel concept too, guys. Just because I think I throw out an idea doesn't mean I'm trying to restore. I'm not a restore the Snyderverse guy. I've said that a whole bunch of times. I am a resolve. I am conclude. That's what I am. I'm ready. I'm ready to go on to the next story. But like I said, I think there's business to be done, and if I ever get a chance to see that business done, I'm going to jump at it. And I'm going to say that every time. But that doesn't mean and just because you watch someone somewhere else that may take things too far, when you leave their channel, you need to leave that mindset there. Don't bring those expectations or mindset to my channel.
By the way,
not everybody who talks about these topics is an extremist.
And by the way, one thing I forgot to add, I wanted to add this before Phil took off because you talked about like we've got a like a madman, we got a crazy geek like us running DC Studios. And one point I thought I'd emphasize that it's like how you think about that, who does James Gunn resemble, like physically resemble? I'm just like just gonna throw that out there. What is the like fictional mad scientist that you kind of springs to mind the most when you see James Gunn? I'll give you a hint. 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, not Doc Brown.
Yeah, really, if he grew his hair out a little bit more, he actually would really kind of be the spitting image of Doc Brown, I think.
Oh wow, okay. I easily can hate. I don't think it's up to par. I grew up on slashers, dude. I grew up watching the first type of slashers that were brought to America when they copied Spanish stuff, when they copied the Italian stuff. I mean, and when it comes to trope, which was that's a trope I'm tired of. I mean, I don't think that I want to. I'm okay with the Scream franchise ending. I think they've done what they can do with it. This is just me. 2009 remake of Friday the 13th is awesome. I think it's trash, but once again, it's all film is subjective.
I enjoyed it, but I mean, I haven't seen it in a really long time.
Jason actually sets up traps and not just some bumbling fool. He's not a bumbling fool when the earlier ones are done right. I mean, he is a precision killer. He is a very creative killer. I don't need Jason to set up traps. That's lame. Jason happens upon you, and that's it. That's the kill. That's the art. Um, I, the spirit of the original just wasn't there for me. But like I said, hey, listen, if you guys like the 2000, I thought, like I said, at the time I walked out of the theater, no personal offense to anybody who may have been in that movie, I needed a new word for trash. I literally looked up I think I had maybe a flip phone or Nokia at the time. I literally looked up because that's what I thought that version of that.
Well,
that
you've also kind of said too that I mean, it kind of like with what you in the original Friday the 13th, with what audiences can, let's say, logically infer that Freddy has predilections towards, let's say, they kind of like take that.
He's a top molester killer, yeah.
But they make that explicit, or they make that overt, in the remake. So it's like you kind of like took it like. It's kind of like, okay, we couldn't like read between the lines on that, so they kind of felt the need to like really emphasize it in the new one.
And the audience in the 80s knew exactly what Freddy was. We were the Adam Walsh. We were the ones that the parents used Adam Walsh as a horror story to make sure we didn't talk to strangers, we didn't take candy from anybody. You went straight home. Somebody approaches you, you run like hell. Adam Walsh. We grew up in the era where that started to become a thing. So we knew what Freddy was. But they didn't want to do it that way. Then they didn't want it because he was also this funny guy cracking jokes. I'm like, dude, he kills and does things with children, and we're cheering him on. So it's like that's the 80s, though. You can get away with shit like that. Let's see. Oh, James Wan. Everybody in the early 80s to mid 80s was influenced by him. Fulci, a lot, and even with the zombie genre. I mean, there's a lot of Italian zombie movies that, if you look at the stuff that that was actually good when it got transformed to what we would see in America, you see the influences of those guys. So yeah, and just like any genre, like Eli Roth, the people who did Cannibal Holocaust and I Spit on Your Grave, all those exploitation and those movies like that heavily influenced what he would end up going on to do. So. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a Star Wars of horror movies. It taught the other movies in its own genre. Yeah, and like I said, it was one of the first ones, I mean, other than Psycho, that really focused on the known tendencies of a serial killer. So that's why I loved it. Fun fact, Toby Hooper was going for a PG rating for TCM. Wow. Okay, but you know what? When you look at Chainsaw Massacre, I still think that's crazy to hear. But a lot of what happens in Chainsaw Massacre is already done or it's implied. And that's like the art of, you could actually, in this era, if you were to release Chainsaw Massacre, you could flirt with a PG-13 because a lot of the implied stuff, when you match it up against other movies, since you match it up against Red Dawn, it's PG. So, a lot of the stuff that's in Chainsaw Massacre is implied or already done. So he could tweak a couple of things and he could get a PG-13. It'd, be lame. But in this era, back in the 74, it was hard R. But what we've seen, we got a Batman movie, like a Joker kills everyone. Joker puts a pencil through a guy's skull. All right, Joker cuts up people. Joker, is doing all kinds of things in the Dark Knight. It's PG-13, so I think we'll be okay. Or we would have been okay. Yeah, Thunderbolts is gonna. I forgot where it's at. I know Sinners crossed 200 million, which is great. I'm happy to see that. I thought it was more important for Sinners than it was for Thunderbolts, because Thunderbolts is in an infrastructure of things that, it doesn't matter. I mean, you are going to end up referring back to Thunderbolts, and they'll make their money back on that, in other formats. Goodness. Why do I have heartburn? Haven't eaten anything today. That's probably why. All right, let's see. I'm trying to get to as many before we get on to William. Why do you think Derek Taylor, how you doing? Why do you think it's people are sleeping on the new Fantastic Four movie, saying it might bomb? I don't know who those people are. I can't speak for them. I don't know why they would think that the Fantastic Four would bomb. I can't even rationalize why anybody would think about that, and I don't know of anybody that's sleeping on this movie, especially with will be its primary villain being revealed to be Robert Downey Jr. He's money, and he's going to be in this movie. I don't care what anybody says. I think Robert Downey Jr. is going to be all over this movie. And once that gets out, I think this movie's going to be fine. Will it do $1 billion? I don't think so. I think it will make enough, though. I think it will make enough to where you can kind of see the momentum that this particular story and what they're leading up to is catching on. So I don't know who these people are, Daryl, but that to me, that's silliness. Hello, you doing, Ozzy? We don't talk about Final Destination on this show. In fact, I'm gonna have to get a fucking rabbit's foot. You guys keep making me say Final Destination.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna see that next weekend.
Waiting for a fucking
what would you say it's like?
Car part to come flying through my door and part my skull every time I say it. So.
What's the most ridiculous death in that franchise? Would you say? Because some of them are like
you asked me. I'm gonna have to sit and look.
Because some of them are very meant to be like very.
The tanning booth was ridiculous because it wasn't really plausible. It was kind of stupid. But,
I mean, the way they get trapped is goofy. But then it's like the fact that again, because that happens a lot with anything that involves like fire or electricity. It's like somebody will like spill water on it and it'll just overload and go supernova.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, there's not enough. Dude, there were lights will be flickering and all kinds of stuff will be happening. I thought Fantastic Four to be meh. Yeah, obviously. See, we're in a different position, so I am excited for Fantastic. I've been, and like I said, it depends on where you're coming from too, for it too. So you know what? All right, we're gonna get into this this Peacemaker trailer if I can find it.
We're gonna get Williamed because they're gonna demonetize.
I will get our money back though because we do business with Warner Brothers. So. I'll get our. I mean, it's 14 cents or whatever it is.
All right, here we go.
They're going to be doing backflips to get you to join.
Welcome, Peacemaker, or do you prefer Chris?
Either's fine.
Can you tell us a little about your skills?
I'm considered the finest marksman in the world.
The mic is off?
Yeah.
I am also proficient in hand-to-hand combat.
How many more of these do we have today?
Is that popcorn still here?
You love popcorn.
My bud's getting really big lately, so.
I have a variety of helmets.
This guy sucks.
Excuse me? Am I supposed to be able to hear you guys?
Excuse me?
You were talking about your butt and stuff. And also you said that I suck.
It is not funny.
I don't get it. We saved the world.
I thought everyone would finally treat us like heroes.
I don't need anybody else to just gorge my own path.
You're living in the worst level of Grand Theft Auto.
I've come to the conclusion you suffer from a particularly severe form of toxic masculinity.
What?
Argus has been monitoring Peacemaker ever since Rick Flag Sr. was named director.
Does he know that I have?
Kill this time? Yeah.
Bring me Peacemaker.
Mexicali, you scan for any anomalies throughout that house. Pony boy, don't let him out of your sight. Titties, I want you to take the front door. Young man, take the back door. Got it?
Yeah, but not the fucking names, dude. You can't just call us that.
Where do you think we are? Fucking Berkeley?
We haven't always been great people. But
We are the 11th Street Kids. No one will ever break us apart.
You ready for the next adventure, pal?
Keep on keeping on.
Okay, and here's the real question mark.
Who the fuck are you?
Okay, so should we do thoughts on the trailer first or thoughts on the final part of the trailer first?
Well, we kind of covered the final part already, really,
Yeah,
in spirit.
Well,
yeah,
because I mean that whole like series of doorways now it's an interesting way of like kind of like representing like different sort of windows throughout the I know RJ posted on Twitter like he thinks this probably is how that happens, like involves multiverse elements in some capacity, but we'll see that in a couple months here when we get to that. But so if that like I said before Phil took off, like if he really wanted to like throw a hand grenade that nobody saw coming, that he would Ezra Miller as the Flash popping up in relation to that one scene would definitely be the biggest one he could throw there.
Yeah, I mean, you just see him coming through, and he's looking. He sees them there, and
I'm still trying to get home. Like, don't worry about me.
Or there's a lot of ways you could spin it. I had a little fun with it, but I do think until I'm shown otherwise that they're going to use something that's already built into the universe that he came from as the easiest way to solve that or to say that problem. I mean, it's already there. It's literally you already know what happens when he goes back and keeps going back, and when the other counterpart kept doing it. So there you're at. I mean, like I said, could he come up with something brand new that we haven't seen before? Sure. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not speaking as somebody, like I said, from the inside. I'm just using what I see and thinking, like, you know what? Hey, as far as the trailer goes, it looks like it's going to be consistent with what I enjoyed about the first one. The camaraderie seems to be there.
Pretty tonally matches what the first one did.
Yeah, the silliness is going to be there, which is fine. I mean, you're not going to watch Peacemaker without understanding that there is going to be an over the top element that's there. That's about it. I mean, I like as far as the actors and the people portraying these characters, I think they all have done a great job, and I think that they continue to that. And like I said, I just for the same reason, I liked the original series, the original season, and one of the same reasons why I really love Thunderbolts is that you're everyone in this, no matter how over the top these things are relatable. You have more in common with the people that are in Peacemaker and in the Thunderbolts as a normal human than you will with somebody that's in an Avenger, with somebody that's a Batman or a Superman or anything like that. Because everybody sitting in the audience has gone through shit and can relate to the people that they're watching on the screen. I think that's what makes these particular shows special, is that the ridiculousness is the backdrop, but the actual journey from where these people are when you first meet them and to where they end up at any given time is actually just like Thunderbolts, where they started off the movie with basically trying to kill each other, and they wrap up being the support network for a guy who's about to lose his shit. That all happened in one movie. And with Peacemaker, that, you had a lot more layers to deal with, but that all happened in one show. And with the Suicide Squad, that all happened, both movies, that all happened within a 2-hour period. So I see a lot of that again here. Like, they're drinking beer together. They're further down the road than they were when they first met. So for me, it's just going to be interesting to see how their relationships and how they evolve as a character. And yeah, I want to see why there's two Peacemakers. And I think I know why. But once again, James Gunn's a crazy man. He could pull some complete unrelated shit out of his ass and say, this is the reason why. And you know what? I'll be like, okay, cool.
The only thing I would kind of like, as far as like that, that theory is, and because I'm kind of getting interested to get your thoughts on that, like, if he does something, if like Ezra's Flash shows up, or like even something akin to that, like, or like he, John Cena like peeks through, like 5 different doorways, like he sees like the dark side battle in there, and in one of them, or anything that would be like a big like kind of incendiary like twist like that, because you've talked about he needs to like get firm footing on his on what he's trying to do with this franchise for like going back and like fulfilling.
Yeah, I don't think you see it. I don't think you see it Nightmare.
But like it's so it's well, but even something like the Ezra's Flash, that's not like as much of a tether to it, but it's still like it's part of what we're talking about. So like, so I guess my question on that is that if he does something like that this early on, is he not setting himself up to like kind of get bombarded with like questions about like, okay, where are you going with this now?
He's gonna get bombarded no matter what. He's
Well,
not gonna.
He's getting bombarded right now since he got
Two
the job.
things we don't know. That was a trailer for the entire season 2, so we don't know at what point that we see that other John Cena. We don't know. That could be the cliffhanger to the. We don't know, right? Until we see it. And no, and I think that if he were to get bombarded with the questions, no, he doesn't have to answer anything. He doesn't have to. He's gonna get asked those questions no matter what.
Well, even like at him actively answering or avoiding it, it's like I think because you've talked about like you sympathize in the sense that you wouldn't want like what came before overshadowing what you're trying to do either. So, and this is me kind of playing devil's advocate on that. It's like if he did like throw any kind of bone or throw any kind of hand grenade like that, is like, does he not run the risk of overshadowing that? I'm not saying that like I agree either way on that, but
it's not. I don't think so, and that can't matter. He can't worry about us shitheads on the internet when he's writing his stories. I think we should be the absolute last thing he refers to. You're a filmmaker, not an internet troll. Give a fuck about we're in 9.9% of the rest of the population. You need to make, you need to be able to tell your story, and him using something that's already there, and something that's already there to explain or articulate what he's trying to do is something that he runs a studio now. That's part of the studio now, and that's something that happened. His characters originated in the universe that all this was happening. So, I mean, if you are going to, you're going to have to explain it at some point, because he said he was going to. And if you want some type of clean break while not giving up everything that you wanted to use, then this is really the only way to do it. And it does it in a way that he doesn't have to answer it. People can bombard him all he wants. Us 2.5%ers can bombard, him with all he wants. And you know what? We've proven the people who are gonna, bombard him, we've proven to be easily ignored, depending on the decorum and the time and the place. So yeah, let him bombard it, but that shouldn't in no way, shape, or form, if that is what he's doing. And which is, like I said, this is just theory. But if that is what he chooses to do, he's using elements at his disposal to tell his story. That's what any storyteller should be allowed to do.
Well, and also, like, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows, the Peacemaker, it's pointing the gun at John Cena. It's like, his helmet's different, so that suggests that he's from, a different,
Well, remember, Peacemaker has several different helmets too.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, he had one where he couldn't even figure out what they did because he had so many of them. So there's other explanations, by the way. I'm not saying that this is why. This is my theory. You can throw my theory out with the birdcage. I mean, this is just my theory. That's all.
And by the way, we're also going to get like some degree of like maybe connecting to like, that whole doorway multiverse gateway, whatever that's going to be in there with like, because Superman is going to, right, it involves pocket universes as a plot device in it, so this may be some way that kind of actively builds on that, since especially just it comes out like 6 weeks after Superman does. So
like I said, I think the DCU Peacemaker diverges, but it could also be a doppelganger. It could be a clone. But well, we know, like I don't have enough information to make a sound without swallowing betting $500 on it. But I'm just having fun with it. Like I say, if it turns out that I am way off, then you know what? That's what happens when you're dealing with make believe characters with someone else writing them.
Aaron's also asking if we're gonna watch The Conjuring. No, why not?
No, because it's not time. If I'm promoting that movie, I will show it when
what is that supposed to be out?
The window. I forgot, but I know we're promoting it. We've done all the, and we actually got taken off the air the last time I did a Conjuring one because of the algorithm. So no, we're not doing that one. As we get closer to the release, then we'll hit it up. We're gonna do Mission Impossible again in a couple of days too. We got to show that because we got to start the promotion, and then going into June, they don't want me to show the the trailer again, unless we're doing the promotion for
Yeah, so Mission Impossible show that trailer of Tom Cruise like hanging onto that plane, just spinning through that.
Yeah, because there's certain things that get you taken off, and it's not even a human that does it. But when you show them when you're supposed to, they protect you. So
I got to think that maybe like the the big reason why we haven't seen Tom Cruise do a superhero movie yet is because he's like, the only thing I'm gonna do is like it's like I can't, I'm not gonna do it in front of a green screen to like make the powers. It's like you gotta let me do all the flying and superpower stuff. You got to find a way to make it real. Like it's like that's a stipulation for like doing a DC movie or a Marvel movie. It's like it's like I have to, if we're gonna do like Green Lantern, we have to actually go to space. That's why he hasn't done a superhero movie yet.
There's also, and here's another. This is just a complete bullshit comic book guy theory. By the way, guys, calling me comic book guy is not as derogatory as you think it is.
Was that like part of one of the insults you got thrown at you?
If you look at the thing, there's a guy there who changed his name. I kicked him out of here permanently, so he changes his name and goes to these places where I am at, which is kind of creepy. Calling me a comic book guy is not what the slight you think it is, anyway. But I think that Peacemaker, we don't know where. Say if it is a divergent, something I have no idea where the divergent takes place. It's like Loki. That Loki is pruned at a point in time that we didn't even know that he was out there in. So that divergent, if that's a divergent Peacemaker, at what point did it have we been following the good guy who made better decisions from like 5 minutes into the whole series? Or is this something that happens at the end as a result of something? That's another thing. I thought about that when I was thinking about Loki the other day.
Well, see, the other thing about it too, I mean, this kind of speaks to what your theory about the Flash appearing is, financial performance notwithstanding, when it comes to the 2023 DC movies, it's inarguable that they were very heavy on the Flash. They pushed that like crazy. Gunn was hyping it up at every possible opportunity. I mean, it was they wanted people to know that they were really standing behind the Flash. How much that plays into it, how much that factors into what he's doing with his franchise. We can't say until we get a little bit deeper into what he's doing. But again, that's something that's not up for debate. The fact that they of all the 2023 DC movies, they emphasized and pushed the Flash by far the hardest.
All right, so now we are going to bring up one of the absolute. Literally absolute.
Yeah, again, I haven't had a chance to read this yet, but man, I want to.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody because I just came out. So
because I knew read along on this. Yeah, there's no way they're not bringing Brainiac into this.
Brady is almost a go-to for just about any. I mean, I think we would have got him if we had gotten more of what the. All right, so here we go. Absolute Superman 7. There is ultimate absolute Brainiac, and he's.
This is like the Joker skinning his own face.
Yeah, and he experiments, and he's not stable, by the way. Like, we're used to Braniac being a stable genius and a calculating genius. This guy is a genius, but he's far from stable. He experiments on people in most grotesque ways. He absorbs people. I'm gonna show you something real quick, and I think I might have it in one of the thumbnails too. This is the Lazarus guys try to attack him, and he gets a hold of them and just dissects them and puts stuff in them. If you can see right here, he has taken the brain, that middle panel there. He has taken the brain out of one of his subjects and hooked it up to wires, and you can see the brain in a little canister there. And he takes the organs and dismembers people and just for the hell of it. And it's not quite sure what he's looking for yet. He does not have a human lower body. He has an android. He's a cybernetic organism, pretty much kind of like the way the original one is, but not in this particular way. and his lab is a house of horrors. His lab is a house of horrors with a bunch of this one right here, and like I said, he's enlarged this guy's hand. He's cut his hand off and added some kind of growth hormone to it. It's just kind of gross. And then this is the actual cover. He actually has the cities. Like Brainiac is known for. That's what it's on the cover of the main one, and that's what I use in the thumbnails. And then he also keeps monsters shrunken in there. And his brain is hooked up. He can alter his brain. He can mess these little knobs on the top of his head there that you see there. He can use those to his brain is exposed. You can't see it from there, but you can see it. You can see it from the cover. These are these little diodes that he has at the top of his head that he can mess around to a different effect. In this comic, he's using them to control his emotions because he kills and dissects people, and he realizes he actually has regrets about it. Yeah, the only other version that I've seen that kind of reminds me of this particular version is a show called Krypton, physically, not content wise, but a show called Krypton. If you remember what Brainiac, because Brainiac was the main foe there, he had a non-corporal, non-human form at certain times that he would present himself in. And that's what this reminds me of. There's him attacking the guys from Project Lazarus, and he uses this beam to take him down, and then he basically dissects them like frogs. Let's see. And then this is the one that's on the thumbnail. There have as far as the villains goes, they haven't put too many of them in circulation yet, but for the ones that they have, I think out of all the characters, Brainiac is probably the most diverse one, and the one that they have taken the most liberties with. So there you go. There's a city. I don't know if that's Kandahar or not, but he's got them in little containers. So instead of having the bottles like he does in the standard universe, he has them in these grotesque containers. And like I said, it's disturbing to see. Speaking of body horror, I instantly thought of David Cronenberg when I saw this version of him. And he's obsessed. He's seeing Superman for the very first time, and he's obsessed with capturing him. And then they also give his origin here. Now his origin. His origin starts out with the Brainiac that we would all recognize. You see him in there in the lower corner. So there are things that happen to this Brainiac and his upbringing. Now, if you look at the original Brainiac, they were in different classes. This is like a Brainiac 500 or whatever. He's not like a Brainiac 5 or 2 or anything like that. Because remember, if I remember correctly, the lower your number was, that you were in a tier of class of geniuses and prodigies. He's not that. He's actually a lower form. He's actually a working class, which is another thing, because they harken back to, because remember the Kryptonians that this Superman comes from, that those are working class people. So a lot of these hierarchies are being flipped on their head to give different dimensions of these characters. So it gives you the origin. If you aren't reading Absolute Superman right now, if you're not reading Absolute Universe and you're into DC, I urge you to go out and get some of these things. Even if you had reached a point where you were tired of DC, you were tired of the storylines, maybe you were a Wonder Woman fan, you don't like what Tom King is doing, pick up Absolute Wonder Woman. If you think Superman was too vanilla for you, pick up Absolute Superman. If you think The Dark Knight has lost its edge, trust me, it's there in Absolute Batman. But now we're starting to see the Rose Gallery, and Ra's al Ghul is the primary enemy. This is a weird fact, because in the standard universe, Brainiac really doesn't work for anybody, as far as I recall. He's pretty much the top of the food chain. So he's working for Ra's al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul is actually a Superman villain in here. So they introduce him. They introduce his origin, but there are certain things that make him grotesque is probably the best word I can give him. All right. Yeah, it's totally body horror. It's totally body horror, especially his. All right, William, with Brainiac specifically, how are they portraying him since he's a working class? No, he grows up as a working class, but he becomes a scientist nonetheless, and he starts experimenting on people. He's more like a Joseph Mengele than he is anything else. The things he does in this comic, as far as experimenting on people, are just horrific. I mean, he dissects them. He removes organs out of their bodies and hooks those organs up to different machines. They're basically in a state of torture is what they're at. All right. So that is absolute Superman. Number 7, giving you the first full glimpse of Brainiac. Next month, we have the full-on first issue of Batman that will include Mr. Freeze, who is equally horrific. Not in the same way, but he's equally horrific. All right, so there we go with that. All right, where are we at on our thumbnail? We have talked Peacemaker. We have talked Brainiac. Now it's time to talk about something near and dear to me. Heavy metal is back on the shelf again. I grew up reading and grabbing heavy metal. I used to have to get permission from my dad to get it. Heavy Metal is an anthology magazine that has been around for a very, very long time. It has had some of the greatest artists who have ever done art in their covers and on their covers. I got to be real careful because here's something sort of safe. Heavy Metal is also explicit. They do bring the nudity. I don't think there's an issue of Heavy Metal out there that does not have like this is this one I'm picking up right now. It has plenty. It's explicit. It's explicit. It's exotic. It's horror. It's fantasy. It gets its roots, from my opinion, from the old Warren stuff that we featured here, where it's different topics. It could be alien invasion, a person alone on a planet, vampires, fairies. They, and different art styles. I guess I gotta be careful of what okay, here. So the same magazine that'll give you that as an art style, right? Let's make sure. No, that's explicit. Gives you this. And that's all in the same comic book, all in the same magazine. They are generally this one is 210 pages. They're pretty big. And this one, I got to cover that, but there you go, covered. So this is the end of one story and the beginning of another story. So you would pick these up and you would get like 5 or 6 different styles. But the main thing about them, I gotta make sure I'm not showing boobies on there. The main thing about Heavy Metal that was its catching point, even though it was more than the total of the cover, were the covers. The covers are how they sold this magazine. This is now Heavy Metal number 1. Heavy Metal. The legacy number is 321. There were 321 issues of Heavy Metal prior to this, but just like comics that start over, they've given you a new number 1 because they wanted to make it attractive. But 300. This is the 321st issue of it, but the first issue of this series. This is it came out with a bunch of covers, but here's the thing. It's $20 a copy. I don't know if these are going to be quarterly or monthly or anything like that, but one of the things when we're dealing with paper medium being where it's at was, comics have been able to survive because they're dirt cheap. They're like, comparatively $5 maybe. Here you have something that's $20. Now you get 210 pages, you get value, but I'm worried that the trend of doing something like this may have passed. I don't know. I'm going to do my best to support it. I've ordered it for the store. I hope they print this in a frequency to where the $20 price cover doesn't hurt it. But this was one of the main covers. There's that right there. Now, everybody that does a cover for anything, no matter what comic it is, you got to have your sketch variant. And I'm going to get a couple of these because I have some artist buddies of mine, including myself. I may do a sketch variant of my own for Heavy Metal. because I love sketch variants. I like to see people when they do their videos, and I used to say, "Oh, what are you're going to ruin that? You're drawing on it." It's like you get the sketch variants for the most part don't shoot up in price like for that reason. And if you draw on these, you make them special, you make them yours. So I believe it or not, I'm an artist. I just haven't had the chance to do it because I run a business and I've been all over the place. I really want to get back to my art at some point in time. Hopefully I'll use this opportunity. But there's your sketch cover. Let's make sure that I got to make sure because certain heavy metal covers have explicit stuff on them, and those are the ones that had to be put up with the Playboys. That's one of the things that just like with the Warren magazines in the '80s, bookstores, booksellers, B. Dalton Books, those places like that, because there would be like boobs or the nether regions exposed on the cover, they had to put them up there with the Playboys. That killed the sales. Gave it that label. But here's another cover. And just when you look at these covers,
Aaron also asks, "Has ever been put into a live action show or movie?" Well,
yes. Heavy Metal, the movie.
Yeah, well, also it's like it was very much a heavy basis of Rebel Moon too.
Yeah, but to answer your question explicitly, 1981.
Like anything called heavy metal, yes, it was.
Yeah, it's animation. This is a beautiful color using these kind of colors, pastels. It reminds me of Blade Runner 2049, the Joy character that Ana de Armas plays. My favorite one of the ones that I brought up here. This is a Frank Frazetta cover. This is probably one of the ones that they did before. This is one of the ones that they recycled because Frazetta, you don't think of Warren magazines and heavy metal or this type of genre without Frank Frazetta is like the guy. He's the pope of this kind of stuff. Now, I'm going to give you a list of people who you're going to notice some names. People who've either done cover art or have done, the actual concept. Louis Royal, I know who he is. Chris Achilles, Mazza Chops, concept artist. Richard Corbin, Bernie Wrightson, for those of you who know Swamp Thing. Arthur Seidem, I hope I'm not butchering your name. I've read it before. Von Bode, Frank Frazetta. This one, everybody should know, Mobius. Philippe Caza. Tatiana Liberatore, I know her work. And Pepe Moreno. So that's just to name a few. But there are a lot of covers and art that this is where these guys got their start in some cases. And if they weren't doing those, they were doing Savage Sword of Conan. They were doing anything. They were doing novel covers. Simon Bisley. People like that are Death Dealer. When Simon Bisley, we did Death Dealer, Frank Frazetta. But Frank Frazetta for me is we did a feature on his artwork. I almost panicked because there's a version of this cover where she's not wearing a top. So I made it. But Frank Frazetta really cut his teeth on things like that, and that's why I'm happy to see heavy metal back. I hope it does well. I don't know how long. I don't know how long it's going to last. To be honest with you, I don't know how long they mean it to last. But it's a beautiful, 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 beautiful publication, and it is a diverse publication with covers alone. You have like 5 to 6 different types of genre and types of artwork. And that, I mean, there's something. If you're into this genre, there's something in a issue of heavy metal for you. Fantasy, horror, doesn't matter, and they're so beautifully done. It's almost. And the art is as important as the story as it is in any type of comic book thing. But I think more so with heavy metal because the selling point is the beauty of the art. Whereas a comic book cover, most of the time, a comic book cover, I mean, you have ones like these that just give you the character. But even then, comic book ones are to more so to tell you a story than anything. Like I know, obviously, Spider-Man. There's Spider-Man. There's Lois Lane and Supergirl. But look at a one like this. Okay, Batman 421, right? Now, the story is about what this lady is going through and how Batman is helping her. But that cover tells a story. That cover is meant to get you engaged in that story. Whereas I've always thought, like, when it came to heavy metal, the covers were to get your attention, period. Whether or not you gave a shit about the story inside, they were competent about that. But they made sure, much sometimes to their to a negative point because, like I said, sometimes it meant putting a fully, unclothed woman on a cover that you couldn't show anywhere. But things like this, there's some in here that are on a full page that, like I said, I just got to be careful because, okay, like these are safe, and each month it would be a drastically different cover. And here's another thing. Let's make sure that and they're very violent, by the way. Now, some stories can be peaceful and serene, and then you have other stories like this where there's decapitations on every page. Just there's a disembowelment in here. But then there's fairies. There's peaceful fairies that are flying around here. I can't show you those because they're topless, but But yeah, here's some dismemberment. There's some disembowelment going on there. But you could be reading that story and then flip a couple pages and be talking about sprites and stuff. See how the change? So you get a lot in the 230 pages. So I hope that now that this is back, I hope people support it because I always get that question. Hey, when do you think you're ever going to bring heavy metal back? I'm like, if people start buying it. But I can't. I've given you guys a tour of my store, and you've seen my Warren stuff that I'm always able to get in. People don't bring me in heavy metal for good prices. They try to fucking rob me. And they got some good stuff, but people don't bring me in heavy metals. And if some of you out here in the Southern Nevada area want to bring me in for a price that I can make and flip it for, this is your clarion call. Come on out, because I'm a fan of all. If it's got a painted cover, dude, I got romance novels. I got a collection of romance novels at my office. Not into romance. But their covers, some of the covers, the Conan books, some of the covers are great. Ken Kelly would do these. Like I said, Simon Bisley, Julie Bell would do these. Boris Vallejo would do these. Some of the greatest artists, and they would all be on these covers. So, number one issue is out there right now. If you're looking for something different, if you're wanting to read a comic book right now and you don't want anything to do with the superhero genre, and even if it's the dark genre or the boys or absolute, and you just want to read stories in a comic book form, and you're an adult, I highly recommend. This is my recommendation of the week. All right, we have covered all of the thumbnails. Does anyone have any questions on any of the major topics we covered today? Now is your time. Yes, definitely. And those same people that I just mentioned all worked on Conan, all worked on Eerie and Warren magazines, and all worked on heavy metal. So that's why.
I did have one question. The question I've had in my mind, I wanted to ask on the show for a while now. If one train is traveling to New York and another is traveling to Los Angeles, they're both going 90 miles an hour, where will they meet? I'm kidding, of course, obviously. This is where William wishes he hadn't taken away the buzzer.
I'm trying to institute it where you can't get to it. I will find a way.
Okay. I just had to get that out. In all seriousness, Aaron has another one. Who owns the rights to heavy metal? Yes, Buller here. Aaron
right now, yeah, because they've. Because I know it's been I know whoever owns it all now. So it doesn't give me. You know what? I want to answer that question myself because I've never really because I know whoever. Okay, let me read this, by the way. All right, since 1977, heavy metal has defied convention. We've been beating, pulsing, howling heart of science fiction, fantasy, and horror, unafraid to explore the beautiful and bizarre and the profane. Definitely got that right. Through the ink-stained visions of Mobius, Corbin, Juliet, Billier, Manera. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your names if you're watching this. And many others, we opened minds, twisted expectations, and showed the world that genre storytelling can be both art and rebellion. Now, after years of change, challenging, and chaotic evolution, we're not just back, we're reborn. This isn't about hitting a reset. This is about unleashing everything heavy metal ever was and pushing further. The stories in this issue are proof. An unholy mix of legacy, lunacy, visionary brilliance, from mind-ripping dystopias to mythic dreamscapes. We are building on a foundation forged in the fire and adding new gods to the pantheon. This issue marks the beginning of a new era, one built on consistency, creativity, and craft. Our new team is passionate, professional, and most of all, fans. We're not here to fix heavy metal. We're here to elevate it. We want each issue to blow your mind or pull your skull open with art, story, and spirit. We'll continue to spotlight the kind of daring, dangerous storytelling that has always been heavy metal's lifeblood, with new voices along established legends while exploring formats and collaborations that take us even deeper into the heavy metal verse. At the core of this relaunch is a belief that great storytelling still matters, that visionary art still has readers like you still crave work that challenges, seduces, and surprises. Our goal is simple. Every time you pick up heavy metal, it should feel like opening a portal, a beautifully twisted one. So crack the spine, melt your brain. Let this be your invitation and your warning. The new heavy metal is here, and we're just getting started. Frank Forte, editor-in-chief, Heavy Metal Magazine. So I'm going to find out real quick who is the publisher and who owns it. I believe it's a consortium of those people that make it. I think he's one of them, but I do not want to lie to you. All right, Heavy Metal Magazine, ED. All right, Frequency publisher. All right, okay. The original ones, believe it or not, are National Lampoon. Then it got handed over like 20 times. J2 Communication. Okay, so it is Heavy Metal International LLC. So Heavy Metal now owns Heavy Metal. And I'm gonna put their link into the chat because they really have a nice website. And all the colors, man, there are so many other colors. There's like 20 different covers. They are all available to me, but I had to even with my discount, storyteller. There you go. So to answer your question, Heavy Metal LLC owns Heavy Metal. All right, let's see. Got that. Hello, Droga. How are you doing? Well, Sammy Hagar, yes. That's it. Was Sammy Hagar connected to the original Heavy Metal when it first came out because he had a lot of crazy heavy metal? He did the song. He did the title song. It's your one-way ticket to midnight. Call it heavy metal. But rather than have my horrible singing, I'm gonna put that link into the chat. It's Heavy Metal Noise. Let's see. Yes, I'm 18 years old. I ask you that after you've been on the website for a couple of minutes. Sammy Hagar. Heavy Metal. The actual song is called Heavy Metal Noise, but here you go. It is actually the first time I ever heard Sammy Hagar's voice was in the 80s, the early 80s when this came out. Because it was part of a soundtrack. That's a legendary soundtrack, by the way. I don't know. I'm going to have to find out. Question for Omega Swiper is, do you think heavy metal is expensive for $20? I hope not. I'm going to do my damnedest to sell it. $20 is expensive for anything. Because for $20 you can buy 4 separate comics. But I like Frank Forte said, you can't help to be mesmerized. If they're gonna do it, it's gonna be this way. I hope so. I don't know. I hope so. You're talking about the era of a lot of people going on digits to get things, And if there's a way for them to buy it online too, that's great. But I am a fan of the papers and the staples, and in this case, paper and glue, because they don't use staples on things like this. I think it's worth it. I'm not all the way completely through, but I've gotten halfway through, and I'm already feel that I got my $20 worth. I think it's worth it. I'm biased, but I think it's worth it. I think there's a 60-40 chance that it could do well. So like I said, but I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one, Omega. How are you doing, Jurassic? Been busy with another Lego Motion Predator Hunter. It's an anthology. Yeah, let me know when you get to the point where you want to show us these. When the original heavy metal came out, William, did any major comic book artists like well, yeah, all of them. You had Mobius, you had all of their influences were used to make the movie, and the cover was done by one of the artists too. So yeah, you had they were in synchronicity. It was kind of a tough sell because it had nudity in it and it was a cartoon that you couldn't take your kids to. There are a lot of circumstances in the absolute universe. I gotta get better at reading the question, by the way. Why did they switch Rays? I always call him Roz, even though I gotta start calling him Rays. I call him Roz since I was like 10. Ra's al Ghul in the absolute universe from a villain to Bruce. You're gonna have to continue reading. All right. That's about it. We are hitting 2 hour
Magic Ketchup Studio. Yeah, they're on the come up. Ketchup Films. Ever since they saved Coyote versus Acme, so sky's the limit for them.
Well, heavy metal would be able to get a major distributor.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they would actually get Universal or something like that.
But really, Ketchup Studios might become a major distributor though. Just how much they're.
I don't know enough about Ketchup to really say. Well, I don't know where their money comes from, and I don't know whether it's a long-term investment firm, maybe, to where it doesn't really matter how much money they initially use as they're establishing themselves right now. I don't know enough about Ketchup because I don't know if they're even going to be around long enough. I mean, I don't know if losing money means anything to these guys at this point. So I rarely bring up Ketchup because I'm really kind of curious. It's a mystery where their assets come, and none of it's really public. They're investing in things that aren't going to make money. There's got to be a reason why people do that, So yeah. Okie dokie. Anthony Manzano William was Peacemaker in the comics, as he was a relevant third wall. He's not that way in the comics. Neither in Vigilante is not like that. Deadpool originally wasn't that way in the comics. They changed him that way. Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza did not. They created him as a hardcore mercenary. When you first see him here, he's for the first 4 or 5 years of his existence, he's a mercenary. He's cracking jokes, but not like not the silliness that he does now. It wasn't until later on in the mid 2000s, to be honest with you, or the early to mid 2000s, to where he began doing the fourth wall thing and following She-Hulk. All right. 40 of you watching, evenly split between our formats. So that's good.
That is good, yeah.
Let's see. All right. That's about all I have. That's it. I covered everything. It's time to kill. All right. Well, the Edmonton Oilers lost today in sports. Yay, but the Boston Celtics won. Boo. It would have been a great day if both of those teams would have lost today. However, one of them had to win. That's about it. I'm all petered out. You got anything for the cause, Bradley? Nothing? Wow. Give Brad some time to talk, and he ain't got shit. All right. Okay. I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap it there then. So one of our shortest shows, but I only had a couple of things to cover, and I've been really busy all day. I think I chose 3 topics that really, my presentation of them is pretty much all I really had to say on those. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole of what Peacemaker means, but I've given you my most ridiculous and most fun theory. I don't think I can get any crazier than that.
That apparently people are annoyed by.
Yeah, and they all tie it back to the whole, like I said, whenever you bring back up anything when it comes to this, you either hate James Gunn or you want to resurrect the Snyderverse. Heaven forbid there are like the majority on either end of those that just want a story to tell and read. That's it. I'm here for the story. Has this company, in its previous iteration, disappointed me before? Yeah, but those guys are gone. I feel like a fool for championing somebody to have a chance to tell their story all these years, and then when we get to somebody to not be the champion for them to tell their story. I mean, I want James Gunn to have the shot that Zack Snyder didn't. It's not Zack Snyder's, James Zack Snyder's fault that he's getting that shot. It's not James Gunn's fault that Zack Snyder didn't. But not everything is connecting tissue, though. Every time I bring up something that has to do with Ezra Miller, just because he was originated in that universe, doesn't have to lead to anything but where I see a somewhat logical, plausible conclusion. Yeah, even if it's a long shot, it's fun. And every time I bring up Ezra Miller, that's not your cue to bring up what you think is his criminal past. Then fucking ask you. I don't care. I would talk about that, and that would be in my thumbnail if with a mugshot. I'm talking about the product. Sometimes it's just best to talk about the product. You know what? Sometimes deal with the cover that is front facing. It's there for a reason. Most of the times, I don't care what goes on in these people's private lives. I don't care. If you're on drugs, I hope you get rehab. I hope you get better. If you're going through a divorce, don't care. I wish you well. I hope you find someone else. It's the product that you produce is what I'm there for. So I mean, not everybody has to care about there are people who've done some awful shit and that are in public life right now, and the general public has made a decision in some of those cases not to care, no matter how blatant what they do or have done is. And you know what? That's their right. So just because you zero in on what that person has done or been accused of doesn't mean it matters to anybody else. And if I'm paying the bills, I'm going to go with the majority. So every time I bring up a particular actor, I don't need your Dateline expose about how you feel about them. I don't care. We're talking about the product that they exist, and I brought him up for a reason. There was a reason why I brought him up. So I'll have some fun. Let's see. I hope Nolan comes back. Hey, listen. It's a big name. If you're somebody who wants a big name to come back and help you rebuild your studio, that's a big name. I'm not the biggest fan of all of his work, but I know where he is in the pantheon of directors. So, when Captain Atom is split in half along the other Charlton comic characters. Okay, did I miss one? Yeah, there you go. Clint knows that song. That's a 45. Oh, no. Dude, we're so backed up on these watch parties if we ever get back to them.
Yeah. You got to do that.
It's just really hard to do them and run a business.
Well, because you're in the store when we run them.
Yeah, and that might be affecting the quality of the shows.
And
too,
of course we got, one we usually tend to do on May 20th every year.
Well, Omega, there's a lot of people. I think there are people that make better stuff than Nolan. I would take Denis Villeneuve every day of the week before I took Nolan. Yeah, I don't want to. You brought up a martial arts question in here, Anthony. What did I tell you about that shit?
Brad, what martial artist movie actor has passed away recently? Would you like to do an interview from the 60s or 70s? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, real interesting question.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center.
Anthony?
Yeah, it is a very interesting question. It doesn't matter what channel your aunt's getting on.
Although it would be more appropriate on the Kung Fu channel, but yeah, sure.
I can't think of any who have passed away recently. There,
it's a morbid question, by the way. Damn.
Yeah. I might need to think on that. Let me think. Let me get some thought on that. I'll get back to you, Anthony. Let me sleep on that. I'll get back to you. Might be something like when I go on Perp Stream that might be talk about.
Or when you do your Kung Fu show. All right, new comment. How can you adapt a character like Spectre in live action? Oh, easy. Easy. I mean, CGI. I mean, you could do Spectre really easy. I mean that's just would just you could do a low budget way, but if you had the money, Spectre's you just legally you would approach him how you would do any other character. I don't know if I'm quite getting the question. Yes, the authority we get an image and came over with Jim Lee, just like Wildcats. All right, guys, I think that's a good place to cut it off.
Yep.
Pretty mellow week. Not a lot of stupid shit happened. A lot of stupid shit was said, but not a lot of stupid shit actually happened.
Yeah,
So,
but again, like I would have been on the the vodka stream, like kind of share my 2 cents on that Flash Peacemaker theory that William put out. I mean, I think there may be something to that. I mean, you said, even without that, you think he's gonna tie it all back.
I think he's going to use it because it's there. I mean, his characters. He was working for DC as this movie was being released, and there's no reason for him not to use it if he doesn't want to. Regardless, so like I said, people want to pile up. Well, the Snyderverse is dead. Somebody sent me a message. The Snyderverse is dead. Where the fuck did I bring up the Snyderverse and any of that? Did you even watch? Are you just going after people? And guess what? What if it's alive and kicking? How does that affect your life? Can you not go to the bathroom, and do solids if the Snyderverse exists? I mean, why does any of this affect your life one way or the other? And like I said, I just see a lot of, one of the most aggravating things I saw, no matter what the subject is, like I said, people cause themselves heartburn by responding to things that they don't have to respond to. Not every tweet needs to be responded to. Most of them, almost all of them, don't need. Not everything needs to be retweeted. You don't need to jump into the fray. All right. You don't need to make your opinion known all the time. Your opinion amongst 1,000 or 1,000,000, you think that's going to mean anything in a platform that nobody who makes any real decisions is even paying attention to? You know what? You want to tell, well, these people are awful and they're toxic. What's more toxic? The person who typed whatever pissed you off, or you for swerving off the road, off the beaten path, getting out of your vehicle, running into the woods to engage that person? I think the people who do that, who make these people part of their lives, are as big as part of the problem as anything. So that's where I'm at with that one. Let's see some last comments. The Phantom Stranger is immensely powerful, but as far as physical traits goes,
oh yes,
Spectre is going to be. He has literally the powers of a god. Phantom Stranger is immensely powerful, though. He has faced off against them because they work with each other as far as the source of their powers goes. But the Spectre is literally a god. I mean, he is God as far as how that goes.
And if there's one thing we've really heavily established, like throughout this week, it's the importance of heeding this advice, even if there are 100 of you.
Yeah, that's because we live in a meme culture, for better or for worse. Do you think the MCU show should focus on the one-off smaller characters like Demolition Man? No, because they're not going to make any money. They're in business to make money, and they have a formula that works for them, and they have a formula that they've tinkered with. You've seen what happens when they tinker with the smaller one-offs and the D-listers. It slows down the product, and it costs you momentum. So that's why they've gotten back to doing it. Even though Thunderbolts is full of D-listers, you're being aimed like a cannonball towards Secret Wars and Fantastic Four and Doomsday. So you're at you're like when they get that roller coaster and you go all the way up to the top before you make that initial drop. That's where we're at right now with the MCU. So I don't think there's any reason for them to do one-offs unless, like I said, it fits in their story. But generally, when they've done that, it's slowed the product down, in my opinion. Let's see. With how an overpowered Spectre is in comics, how would you adapt him in life? I wouldn't change anything. How he's in the comics is how he should be. How he should be seen. He's overpowered, but he can only. The Spectre still has limitations. He can only use his power to do certain things. He can only intervene in certain things because the source, the voice, I'm sorry, is what drives him. So he still has limitations of what he can do. Yeah, sure. I think the question could work in a retro. Jeez. I don't even recall a vodka stream, William. You didn't need to go into such lengths to prove. I don't recall a vodka stream. Oh, right about what, Omega? You're probably wrong, but what do you think you're right about? You're gonna have to, guys. When you type something in, please give the full clarification so that I know what I'm responding to. Oh, Peacemaker versus Batman. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I have as much information to refute that as I do to say it's crazy. Just like my theory. If they would introduce MCU characters in big films and spin off the shows, well, they did that. I mean, Hawkeye. Hawkeye is you first see him in Avengers movies, and that show wasn't any good. So, oh yeah, because he's got like 12 different helmets. That was actually kind of hilarious when he was trying to figure out which one would work, and he ends up blowing that girl up that he's banging, and then she turns into one of those butterflies and tries to kill him. And that's the first time you see John Cena in his tidy whities, which I'm like. James Gunn seems to be obsessed with this man walking around with his junk out. So,
yeah, how old is John Cena anyway? Because he is
48.
He is keeping shape. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, well, he's that's his moneymaker. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you for being here. Please like, subscribe, share. We should be back on the air tomorrow at 10:30 for the regular Sunday night wrap-up show. Hopefully, it's just another, I don't say boring show, but once again, we're gonna do our show. We're not gonna get caught up in the nonsense. If you have a rumor or speculation for tomorrow night, don't bring it. How about that? When we get to something real, trust me, that when it comes to rumors and speculation, somebody real will say something to make it real. You guys as reliable sources are like kind of like the same people that told me Santa Claus was real when I was a kid. So there you go. All right.
So the reliable sources behind all this are William's parents?
There you go. All right, guys. That's it. See you tomorrow.
See you guys.